Chemicals are present in most of the products around us that we use on a daily basis. The products used in the construction of buildings, and therefore also present in our homes, are no exception. The toxicity of these substances can become a problem if the corresponding measures are not taken to control them. The indoor environmental quality of buildings is measured in terms of the effects produced on people's health, and products play an important role in this regard. Obviously, buildings must not make the user sick or cause discomfort, and this is why the building products must allow us to enjoy a complete state of physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Construction products, as well as the vast majority of the manufactured products, contain substances that can become toxic both to the environment and the human health. The reduction or elimination of these substances is key. On the one hand, in the spirit of making the interior spaces safe areas free of toxins, and on the other, in the transition towards a circular economy, which allows the easy reuse of materials once they become waste. Some of the most important toxic substances that we can find in the construction products are the following. Volatile organic compounds are atmospheric pollutants that emanate mainly from construction materials that contain paints or varnishes, as well as from finishing products and interior coatings used in buildings. Health effects include nasal eye irritation, headache and nausea, damage to the central nervous system, or even cancer. Formaldehyde is part of the volatile organic compound family. It is a colorless, highly volatile and flammable gas that we can find both naturally and from human activity. According to ECHA, the European Chemicals Agency, it is toxic, causing headache, dizziness and sleep disorders, among others. Carcinogenic, primarily causing throat cancer and leukemia. And corrosive, that is, it causes irritation to the skin, eyes and nasal passages in low concentrations. It is basically used in adhesive resins, present in products such as glass wool or mineral wool, particle and medium density boards, carpets, paints, varnishes or expanded polystyrene insulation. Persistent organic compounds are toxic chemical substances resistant to degradation and that we can find especially in the form of biocides or in manufacturing processes. They can be present in construction materials such as textiles, insulation, electronic equipment or household appliances, and flame retardants, especially brominated ones. They accumulate in the tissues of living beings, characterized by their persistence and bioaccumulation in the body. Therefore, they pose a global threat to human health and the environment. Antimicrobials are substances commonly used in different construction products that require special attention to prevent the proliferation of bacteria and fungi on surfaces. The studies carried out show the high toxicity of these products on humans and their status as endocrine disruptors, in addition to the high toxicity observed in aquatic environments. We can find antimicrobials mainly in paints, tiles, carpets, solid surfaces, faucets or toilet seats. Radon is a colorless, odorless, radioactive gas that is produced from the natural radioactive decay chain of uranium. Most of the radon concentrated in the indoor air of buildings comes from the subsoil, but it must be taken into account that it can also emanate from certain construction products such as stone coatings and certain ceramics and concretes that contain components obtained from aggregates from which radon emanates. Today, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in people, although it is still a fairly unknown element by the population. For this reason, it was declared a human carcinogen in 1988 by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. There are products that, due to their toxicity, have been banned from being marketed, but we can still find them present in existing buildings, and therefore, they must be removed. Some examples are wood treated with creosote or products made with asbestos. Asbestos is a component of many construction products such as fiber cement, fire retardant insulators and coatings, among many others. It is made up of microscopic fibers that can remain in suspension long enough to be nailed. It was widely used in construction for its rot-resistant properties and as fire-retardant material, which gave it the performance of an eternal material. However, asbestos is very dangerous for human health, especially during handling, because it is when it's easier for fibers to be released into the air. Its inhalation can cause diseases such as asbestosis or lung cancer. Environmental health in products is not contemplated in building legislation, and its treatment is done in specific sectorial legislation. At the level of the European Union, since 2004, when Directive 2004/42/CE was published on the limitation of emissions of volatile organic compounds due to the use of organic solvents in certain paints and varnishes, there are volatile organic compound emission limit values for certain product categories. This directive was transposed in Spain by Royal Decree 227/2006, the limit values of whom must be currently met by all products to those who are concerned. Regarding the construction sector, the European Commission published Regulation 305/2011 in 2011, which established harmonized conditions for the commercialization of construction products. This document describes 7 basic requirements for construction sites, including a section on hygiene, health, and environment. Specifically, it requires that construction works must be designed in such a way that they do not pose a threat to the hygiene, health, and safety of workers, occupants, and neighbors, as a result of toxic gas leaks, emissions of dangerous substances, organic volatile compounds, or hazardous particles. These regulations leaves it up to the member states to set specific requirements, giving room for the inaction or the application of minimal measures that do not address the problem properly. The European Commission offers the CPDS database, in which you can find the legislation on the substances present in the construction products, applicable in each country. Although only Germany and the Netherlands have published their legislation in this database, other countries such as France, which we will mention later, have had legislation in this regard for years. As for asbestos, in 2016 the European Parliament made the motion for a resolution for its elimination throughout Europe, and the different member states are timidly beginning to regulate its eradication on the products in existing buildings. Spain does not stand out for being one of the first countries to take into account the toxicity of construction products in the general requirements of the Technical Building Code, despite having modified it in 2019 to include radon gas. Thus, it is up to the prescribers of materials to bet on the minimization of toxicity, selecting more respectful products that go beyond the applicable legislation and that comply with more demanding standards such as those mentioned below. Despite having certain mandatory restrictions on the use of toxic substances in products such as paint and varnishes, there are a series of tools and resources that make it possible to minimize the presence of toxins and indoor air pollutants much more. The first thing to do is remove toxic products from existing buildings and minimize the products that can be bioaccumulated in our body. Regarding the construction of new buildings and the renovations of existing buildings, we must be prudent and use the tools at our disposal to choose the healthiest products. The major building environmental certifications consider indoor air quality in their requirements. To meet these requirements, the materials used in the construction of buildings must demonstrate low levels of emissions of volatile organic compounds and other pollutants. The materials platform of the Green Building Council Spain allows you to search for construction products that meet the necessary requirements to obtain credit for the main environmental certifications such as LEED, BREEAM or Verde, filtering by the different types of impacts. In this case, regarding indoor air quality, we find a list of materials and a description of their contributions in the different certifications. Since January 2013, all construction and decoration products sold on the French market must have the eco-label referring to the emissions of volatile organic compounds into indoor air. This label classifies construction products in A+, A, B, and C according to the results of tests that measure volatile organic compound emissions and based on the ISO 16000 series of standards, obtaining the classification of A+ for products that barely emit volatile organic compounds. The obligation established in France affects the Spanish and Catalan markets, since many of these products are also sold here. The European Commission offers the possibility of certifying more environmentally friendly products through this eco-label. Its product groups include different construction products, among which we find interior and exterior paints and varnishes. The products that have this eco-label guarantee reduced contents of volatile organic compounds that can be emitted into the air. The maximum values are significantly lower than those established in the European directive mentioned above. Furniture. Compliance with the requirements demonstrate low formaldehyde emissions and restriction in the use of toxic substances. Wood coatings. In this case, the products demonstrate low levels of volatile organic compound emissions and formaldehyde content. Textiles. Textiles bearing the eco-label guarantee a limited use of substances that are toxic to health and environment. This type of eco-labels are also available as additional information to the Environmental Construction Product Declarations (DAPCONs). To this day, there are still a large number of construction materials that contain toxic substances, either polluting interior spaces or emitting toxic fumes when fires occur. Part of the problem lies in the fact that material prescribers do not have enough tools to know the toxicity of the products. This fact, added to the little relevance that current legislation has in minimizing these substances, represents an urgent need as well as a challenge for the entire construction sector. Therefore, it is necessary to promote a built environment that is more respectful for the health of people and the planet, using the voluntary tools available and forcing the market to offer more and more products that minimize the presence of harmful toxic substances.